From Dave. This is an email, actually. And say, Jason, I have tried physical therapy, physical therapy and chiropractic, but I still have shoulder pain. Can you shed some light on why this is and if there is an answer to this issue? Well, yeah, sure. Let's see. The main issue to why it might not be fixed completely, and what is very common that I see. Now, I don't know the physical therapist and I don't know the chiropractor. So there is a wide breadth of what people do in this industry that there's a lot of crossover between, personal training, physical therapy, chiropractic, and all these different domains, kinesiology, sports physiology. And so there's a lot of crossover, athletic training. And so I'm not really sure exactly what they're doing, but I can speak on what is common. And what's common is that they haven't restored the complex to a proper mechanical balance. And what that means is a lot of times the focus is on a single joint and maybe into the joints that surround an area, which is what we call a complex, and they work together. And so they either haven't restored the complex to proper balance, or they haven't integrated the rest of the body into a coordination with your shoulder complex. Now, that's, of course, also in the absence of some sort of deeper acute injury, that you might be experiencing, if you have a labral tear, an actual tissue injury. But if it's just simple, pain, then that's likely the reason. It could be even coming from the elbow. It could be coming from the shoulder where it meets the neck. There's all sorts of things that it could be coming from. And those are what we call referrals. And so if those aren't looked at in an appropriate way, which a lot of times, physical therapy and chiropractic just simply don't have the ability to do, because they're getting paid by insurance, and insurance only pays for a certain amount of things. I worked at a place called Project Walk, and we worked on spinal cord injury, and we would be trying to get these people function back into their body to walk again. So this is the same concept on a different level. Obviously, it's a lot, bigger scope when you're dealing with spinal cord injury, but we would often ask these folks why they just didn't go to physical therapy, and the answer is that physical therapy just wasn't designed as a system because of the compensation that would be involved to be able to handle what will be required. And so physical therapy did nothing that we did. They didn't take them out of their chair. They didn't try to get function back. They didn't try to integrate the body. They didn't work on complexes. They did other stuff that was kind of trying to get them to function well within the chair, or we're trying to get them function back to working normally. So it was a different paradigm. It was a different process. And so a lot of times physical therapy in and of itself will work on repair, not restoration. So when dealing with physical therapy, that may be the case. I'm seeing a lot more cash-based physical therapy that is starting to go into that zone. That zone is before this has always been kind of the zone of the, maybe the kinesiologist and especially the athletic trainer. With chiropractic, typically, in the past, chiropractic has worked on the skeletal system. They just really don't have a very strong understanding and coaching in the chiropractic colleges. And again, this is starting to change, in my opinion, not necessarily for the better, but they're starting to understand the neuromyofascial relationships outside of the skeleton and the nervous system, which in essence is what's happening is that the physical therapists and chiropractors are being turned into athletic trainers. And so it's like, well, they should have just gone out and got their athletic training. That would have been a better basis for which to apply. the skill set. But anyways, up until now, the chiropractors typically work on the skeletal system. And so if you don't understand the neuromyofascial relationships and the interdependent nature of the body, where you can get, a hip pain that causes a shoulder pain, that sort of thing, then you're not going to have an incomplete result. And so that's that hopefully, Dave, sheds light on your question. The other thing that you need to look at is how you need to alleviate what we call negative training. Negative training are the things that cause the dysfunctions in the first place. So sitting in the car, driving, working with a mouse. If you're working in tech, you might have mouse shoulder, and maybe they never identified it. I think I'm the only one I've ever heard call it that, but I see it all the time. And it's where somebody's shoulder gets all messy because they have their arm in a certain position all day long, and it screws up the shoulder position. I've seen it also. Guitarists are an interesting one. They get that guitar shoulder because they're rounded forward with that shoulder, and they get some of what we call that dyskinesis there. And so if you don't alleviate, and I don't mean eliminate, but alleviate, at least reduce that negative training, those negative factors that are causing the problem in the first place, then you might have, you might not be able to completely get out of the problem. All right. In order to fix the issue, which was the second part of your question, well, number one, you want to get diagnostics. You do want to get it, the x-ray can show some stuff. It can show some deep joint stuff. MRIs are better. They can show a little bit more on soft tissue, a bit more. A manual movement therapist such as a PT kinesiologist or ATC that knows these things. All the manual is funny. All the best manual movement therapists that I've ever run into are in different domains. One is a chiropractor. One is an athletic trainer. One is a massage therapist. One's a kinesiologist. That I know. So, I mean, it's not like I can call out a specific person that you can go to. So anyways, go find one that knows this sort of topical area. One of the things you can look for is if they have the selective functional movement assessment. Now, rewind that and play it back again. Selective functional movement assessment. If they have that, they're likely going to be on the right track into doing this sort of thing. Also, you can email me and ask me for somebody if you're not close enough to work with myself. And then you want to learn a program based in mobility and the rebalancing of the body. Our program is great. It's based upon that. The Ready State by Kelly Starrett is a fantastic program. So, I mean, you got to learn a self-applied program because just the manual therapy is not going to it's not going to correct. It's just not going to get you there. You have to be doing these things every single day. I've worked on all my own pains, including shoulder pain, which you're going through. And, it had to be something done every single day because that's how corrective training needs to be done in order to reintegrate the nervous system appropriately in coordination with the muscular system with regard to all those complexes and the overall interdependence of the body. I hope I didn't go too far out there into jargon land for you there, Dave, but I hope that answers your question. Contact me if you need anything further. So thanks a lot. Hey, and if you found that information valuable, go ahead and click on up above and check out our Chronic Pain Masterclass. Thanks a lot.